Chapter 9 of David and the Phoenix. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Greg Weeks. David and the Phoenix by Edward Ormondroyd. Chapter 9, in which David and the Phoenix call on a fawn, and a lovely afternoon comes to a strange end. The Phoenix was dead tired, and no wonder. All in 1 week it had escaped from griffins, raced with a witch, made round-trip flights to the Pacific Isles and Ireland, been caught in a snare, got burned by a short circuit, and been knocked down by an exploding cigar. Even a bird as strong as the phoenix cannot do all these things without needing a rest. So the traveling part of David's education was stopped for a while to let the phoenix recover. The days went by pleasantly on the ledge. Summer was at its height. The sun fell on them with just the right amount of warmth as they lolled in the grass. The air was filled with a lazy murmuring. "Listen," the murmuring seemed to say. "Don't talk, don't think. Close your eyes and listen." Below them the whole valley danced and wavered in the heat waves, so that it seemed to be under water. There were long, lazy conversations that began nowhere and ended nowhere, the wonderful kind in which you say whatever comes to your head without fear of being misunderstood, because what you say has little importance anyway. The Phoenix told of the times and adventures it had had, of the forgotten corners of the world where life went on as it had from the beginning, and of friends who lived there, of trolls who mined metal from the earth, and made from it wondrous machines which whirred and clattered and clanked and did absolutely nothing. The best kind of machine, after all, my boy, since they injure no one, and there is nothing to worry about when they break down. Of unicorns, excellent chaps, but so frightfully melancholy, which shone white in the sun and tossed their ivory horns like rapiers. Of a dragon who, having no treasure to guard, got together a pathetic heap of colored pebbles in its cave, and really he came to believe in time that they were absolutely priceless, and went about with a worried frown of responsibility on his brow. David in turn told the Phoenix about the games he used to play when he lived in the flat country, and all about school and mother and dad and Aunt Amy and Becky. He could not help laughing now and then over the scientist's defeat, but whenever this came up, the Phoenix would shake its head with a kind of sad wisdom. "My boy, there are certain things, such as head colds and forgetting where you have left your keys, which are inevitable, and I am afraid that the scientist is too." "Oh, Phoenix, you don't think he'll come back, do you?" "Yes, my boy, I do. I can see the whole train of events. He will recover from his fright. He will be curious about the whale and will return to investigate it. Once here, he will remember us, and we shall have to take him into account once more." "Oh, do you think it'll happen soon?" "Oh, no, my boy, nothing to worry about for the time being, but we must remember that it will happen some day." "Yes, I guess you're right. I think he's hateful." "I cannot disagree with you there, my boy. Of course I have no doubt that in general the advancement of science is all to the good. Knowledge is power. But on days like this I sometimes wonder, does it not seem to you that the highest aim in life at the moment is to enjoy the sunlight and allow others to do the same?" "You're right, Phoenix, but then you always are. I was just thinking the same thing. It's funny, well, you know. Why can't people leave other people alone and just enjoy themselves and lie in the sun and listen to the wind?" "That is the way of the world, my boy. Getting and spending, and all that sort of thing. But come, why should we worry over the follies of the rest of the world? A day like this was made for living, not thinking. Begone, dull care!" And they would forget the scientist and watch a pair of butterflies chase each other instead. But one day the Phoenix suddenly stood up with a startled expression on its face. "My dear chap," it exclaimed, "I have just remembered. Tomorrow—" "What about tomorrow?" "Why, my boy, tomorrow another century rounds its mark. To be brief, tomorrow is my birthday, my 500th birthday. Well, congratulations, Phoenix." "Thank you, my boy. 500. Destiny. Have I mentioned before, my boy, that I have a magnificent destiny? No, what is it, Phoenix? Well, it is strange, my boy, but I do not know. But that it is magnificent no one can doubt. Do I have one too? Of course, my boy, we all do. David was glad of that. He did not know exactly what a destiny was, however, and he tried to think of how one would look, but the only picture which came to his mind was that of a small mousy creature, his destiny, looking up in admiration to a splendid thing of flame and gold dazzling to the eyes, the phoenix's mysterious destiny. He said, "We'll have to do something special tomorrow to celebrate, Phoenix." The phoenix looked thoughtful. "I think we had better do whatever we are going to do today," it said. "Well, we can do something today and tomorrow, then," said David. "After all, a birthday only comes once a year, and it seems a shame to spend only one day on it, especially when it's a 500th birthday." "Tomorrow," said the phoenix doubtfully, "I have a strange feeling, my boy. For once I find myself unable to explain. Most odd, most odd. 500th birthday. Ah, well," it went on more cheerfully, "I shall undoubtedly remember later. The pressing question is, what shall we do now?" David got up, thought for a while, and suddenly flung his arms wide. "Oh, Phoenix," he cried, "it's such a beautiful day. I wish it could go on forever. Couldn't we go somewhere where I don't know, I can't explain. Anywhere you say, Phoenix." The phoenix looked at him for a long time. "I think I understand, my boy. Yes. How about one of the forgotten places I told you about? Should you like to meet a faun?" It was a green valley, completely enclosed by the barren mountains which towered above it. At one end a waterfall hung on the face of a cliff, a misty thread pouring into a rainbow-arched pool. A brook serpentined through fields and groves of trees. There were flocks of sheep and goats in the fields. Here and there were strange ruins of marble and red granite, columns, peristals, benches carved with lions' heads, and pedestals. They landed in a little glade, and David got down in silent wonderment. The very stillness of the air was enchanted. The grass, dappled with sun and shadow, wore a mantle of flowers. Clouds of butterflies sprang up at their approach and swirled about them. To their right stood two broken columns, half hidden beneath a wild tangle of vine and clusters of purple grapes. Beyond was the forest, dark and cool and silent, with shafts of sunlight in it like golden spears pinning the forest floor to earth. There was no breeze, and as David stood there, scarcely daring to breathe, they heard the sound of shepherd pipes coming from the edge of the wood. It was a minor tune, but somehow lilting too, with the rippling of water in it, and the laughter of birds flying high, and the whisper of reeds as they bent together by the edge of streams, and the gaiety of crickets by night, and the pouring of summer rain. The piping died away, and the phoenix beckoned to the spellbound David. Together they walked across the glade, leaving behind them a wake of swirling butterflies. An immense oak stood at the edge of the forest. At its foot, on a bed of moss, sat the faun. He was the same size as David. From the waist down he was covered with shaggy hair like a goat's, and instead of feet he had cloven hoofs. The hair on his head was black and curly, and tumbled around small pointed ears and a pair of short horns. His eyes were slanted slightly upward, and he had a pointed chin and a snub nose. The faun waved his pipe saucily at the phoenix and gave a wry smile. "Hello, Phoenix. Back again to honor us with your wit and wisdom? What gems of advice have you got for us now?" "My dear faun," said the phoenix stiffly, "I have brought my friend David, who is acquiring an education. The faun smiled at David. "Want to race?" he said. "Sure," said David. "Where to?" "One moment," harumphed the phoenix. "Down to that pedestal and back," said the faun. "All right. Wait till I tie my shoe." The phoenix harumphed again. "This is all very well in its place, but we should—" "Ready," said the faun. 1, 2, 3, go!" They dashed for the stone marker. It was an even race until they reached the pedestal. But there David tried to turn without slowing down, slipped on the grass, and went sprawling on his hands and knees. The faun knew better. He sprang at the pedestal with both hooves, bounced from it like